Samson, you're welcome to the conversation.
Very much, thanks.
The challenge of having integrity in elections. With the kind of people in Nigerian politics, the way the political parties are playing it, are you afraid that Nigeria may not really get integrity in its elections?
Well, there's every reason to be concerned that the probability or the chances of ensuring electoral integrity are very slim. And this had been a permanent feature of Nigeria's electoral process since return to democracy. And we've had a checkered political history. And year in, year out, where the clamor for electoral reform has not ceased. And the reason is you have a political class that is determined to seize political power without fidelity and respect for democratic ethos and principles. You have a crop of politicians who don't believe in credible elections. They believe that it's a do or die affair to secure political power. And so democratic institutions are undermined and attacked, to a large extent even decimated, because they don't want to be held to account. So you have politicians who love political power, care less about legitimacy, but they just are interested in access to our resources. And it's not about the common good. And so it explains it all. But are there efforts to ensure the integrity of the electoral process? There have been concerted efforts, and I give it to citizens, because citizens have been at the heart of demanding that their votes will count. It's not the politicians, it's citizens who have been demanding that their votes will count. And yes, you have some change agents within the political system. And where these interests have aligned, we've seen incremental reforms in our electoral process. And that's why we have the new electoral law. But you need an INEC that is independent, that is committed to credible elections. You need a political class and political parties who are willing to play by the rules. And where they don't play by the rules, that there is an agency of protection that can hold them to account. And in this case, citizens, the judiciary independent, capable of delivering electoral justice, as well as an impartial security or law enforcement agency. So it's not just INEC, right? It's a multiplicity of actors that work to deliver credible elections.
Now, in this multiplicity of actors, one thing should be driving them: a certain set of values. If people believe and act in accordance with the values to which they subscribe. When all of us got together to chase out the military, we seem to have left a vacuum. That vacuum seems to be that there was no effort in chasing out the military to create an electoral value, a political value. So when the military was chased out, float SAMs, jet SAMs, 419ers, people who could buy into power, hijacked the space. And they seem to be the commanding heights of determining our political value today. Did we make an error in just chasing out the military without creating a preceding electoral value, political value, to drive what we have today?
I wouldn't frame it as an error. I would frame it as a gap. And secondly, there wasn't enough conversation. Because the only opportunity that people and citizens had was to negotiate a new constitution that was centered on certain principles. But were citizens given the opportunity to do so? No, because the military teleguided the entire constitutional amendment and constitutional review process. The whole 1998 to 1999 constitution, for the most part, the 1999 constitution as amended is a replica of the 1979 constitution. And if you check the Constituent Assembly and how they were constituted, you still had military influence. And so to a large extent, the people were not given that opportunity because there were still vestiges of the old order that shaped the conversation. What is a conversation if it's not open, if it's not inclusive, and if it's not based on certain principles? And that's the principles of objectivity, the principles of the courage to speak truth to power. So I wouldn't frame that as an error. Have there been opportunities in the last 23 years of democratic experience where we had an opportunity to renegotiate? There has been. But like you identified, the political space is saturated by individuals who have no respect and regards for values. And I think that what is critical at this moment is citizens are beginning to take power back, from this microscopic or the top 1%, but now citizens are asking fundamental questions. If you look at the forthcoming elections, or let's even look at the electoral law, when these same actors decided to delete electronic transmission of results from the electoral bill, when they decided to undermine INEC's power, when they removed from some provisions in the act, citizens pushed back. They had no choice but to reverse themselves. That was a unique opportunity, and it's a demonstration of how citizens are exerting them and asserting themselves. Look at the voter registration process and how citizens have marched to INEC offices across the country demanding to get registered or to collect their PVCs. There is that reawakening, and that is where the hope lies, that Nigerians have not lost faith. They now understand that power rests in their hand and they are willing to use that power. Our hope and my expectation is that they will show up on February 25th and March 11th, 2023 to vote for leaders of their choice. But when they vote, that they don't leave those polling stations. They remain there to protect the process and ensure that only the results that emanate from those polling units are indeed a reflection of the will of the people.
In the First Republic, the political intellectual seemed to have been putting something in the national conversation, which trickled down even to the grassroots. At present, how involved is the Nigerian thinking class in creating political value, in creating citizen buy-in, in designing citizen expectations?
There have been several scenarios. I am a member of the the Committee for the National Development Plan. I'm also a member of the Nigeria Vision 2050, and as we speak, we have a meeting just to finalize that. In terms of the thought process, Nigeria is not bereft of thought leadership. It's not. There have been several constitutional conferences. There have been several attempts, to redesign what Nigeria is, reimagine Nigeria. But the big question still lies with the political will to implement. And I think it goes beyond the political will to the courage to take difficult decisions that will fix the development crisis as well as the leadership crisis that Nigeria faces. Have there been intellectuals who have gone into political society, who have run for office? There have been intellectuals, who are currently in public office. How have these intellectuals also performed? And so you look at this from a more systemic point of view. And I say that as intellectuals have been, they can still do more. The engine room, the lab, the theater, where intellectuals are formed, they are nurtured, and they exhibit and produce, resources that shape statecraft, our academic institutions. And you and I know what the education system is actually grappling with. And it does require reforms because you have a political class that believes that their continuous stay in power is dependent on how they oppress, how they repress, and how they limit the potential that the country actually has and not harness them. But they are just the top 1%. They may be established, they may have all the resources, but the citizens have the power. And citizens are asserting their power, and they are going to do more. Because this political class, especially those ones that don't want to advance the common good, they have to be retired by citizens. And only citizens can do that.
SAMSON, thank you very much.
Always a delight. Thank you.